Wow, I think a lot of times when people they hit that point, they try to reproduce it the same way as we talked about, and you can't. Yeah, you can't do it the same way because that's redundancy. But also, many times we have the experience and we start to try. And because trying is matter trying to change matter, and so we're forcing, we're controlling, we're predicting, and then and when we do that, then of course we're in separation and we're waiting for the event to happen to feel the emotion, right? And I've done that long enough, and it's actually we have to lay down the very thing we used our whole life to get what we want for something greater to occur, and it takes practice of surrender, right? So that's one element. I also think that our responses emotionally, like let's just say that a person gets connected to the future, they get connected to the energy of their future, they feel it, it's really great, and then they start their day, and then 2 hours later they're feeling something else because some person or some circumstance altered their state. Well, they just disconnected from the energy of the future, and now they're back to the energy of the past. Don't expect anything to change in your life because it doesn't work that way. So then when they get back to that old self again, then they say, what's wrong with me? I failed, they didn't do it right. No, that's all the program. You show up again and you go after it again. So familiar feelings cause us to no longer see through the lens of the future. We're seeing through the lens of the past, and we color reality that way. So I think familiar emotions get in the way as well. And then, of course, there's always belief. And a belief is just a thought you keep thinking over and over again until you hardwire it in your brain, and all beliefs are based on past experience. So a person has an experience, the stronger the emotion they have from that circumstance, the more they pay attention to the cause, and the brain freezes a frame, takes a snapshot, and that's called a memory. The moment they draw a conclusion about that experience, they'll think neurologically within those circuits, and they'll feel chemically within the boundaries of those emotions. Thinking and feeling, belief becomes an unconscious or subconscious state of being. Most people don't even know they have beliefs about things, about God, about relationships, about money, because it's not a conscious thing, it's a subconscious thing. So in order to change a belief or a perception about yourself and your life, you got to go all in. It's not like you go 50% in. You got to go all in. You got to make a decision with such firm intention that the amplitude of that decision carries a level of energy that causes the body to respond to the mind, that the choice that you make becomes a moment in time you'll never forget, and you would say, I remember the moment I made up my mind to change. And the stronger the emotion you feel, the more you'll pay attention to the decision, and that's a huge stone you drop in the quantum field, big splash, big waves. And in essence, we're giving the body a taste emotionally of the future. We're aligning to a new future. Now, how many times do you have to do that? I don't know. I've done it over and over again until it becomes uncompromising. And people say, I remember when I made up my mind to change. I remember I made up my mind to heal. I remember the moment. I can tell you where I was, who I was with, what time of day it was. It wasn't like 9/11, something outer world changing your inner world. Your inner world is changing your inner world, which is ultimately going to change your outer world. So, I mean, people say, well, I believe God lives within me, divine lives within me. Okay, you sit them down to do a meditation, 10 minutes goes by and they're hungry and they quit. If you knew the divine lived within you, you wouldn't quit. You would not. You would be like, I'm here. And you're gonna go a little deeper, a little further. You're gonna get past your hunger. You're gonna get past your pain. You're gonna go a little further because like you want to know, right? If you knew it was there, so that's a belief that you're not aware of, right? So we all have them. I face them every day. So people have beliefs that the divine has an opinion about them. It's impossible to judge. It would divide itself. It can't do that. So as we start having these experiences, I think then our paradigm shifts many times, at least for me. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've had a transcendental moment, come back to Joe Dispenza and looked out in this world and I said, I got this all wrong. This is not about abstaining from life. Ooh, it's the opposite. It's about going all in and really engaging and really living and really experiencing and tasting and smelling and eating and loving and we're here for that. We're here for all of that. So you create the experience, and then when it gets predictable or it gets boring, let's change it up. Let's create another one. And then how far can you go with that? It just goes on. So I think really belief is the other thing it's a blind spot that we have to become conscious to.
Yeah, one of the other blind spots or beliefs that I think where even that sometimes goes the other way, in not what you're saying, I know what you're saying, but one of the ways that we find our audience struggles is deducing the energy of the people around you and the energy that you attract into your life and the people that you keep. Often, like you said, there are people coming to your seminars that are dragging their partners.
Yeah.
And they have to drag their partners there because their partners are not understanding it initially. Where is that? Is there a method for people to start deducing the energy of people they meet and connect with, to be aware if they're on the same frequency or on the same path?
Well, I don't know if there's a machine that does that. But once again, like, I think that if we share the same experiences, because we like the same things, we share the same emotions. And if we share the same experiences, we share the same emotions, I can relate to you, so we can exchange ideas and information.
Yep.
And if we share the same energy is information. So many people, as an example, they use each other to reaffirm their dependency on suffering. So I suffer more than you say I suffer, you suffer more than me. We have this thing, we just complain with each other. Well, that's the same resonance, the same frequency, and there's a match, right? But it goes to the same means if you're someone has a accountability partner that you exchange ideas like this with, and it's a different frequency and different energy. So when energy comes together and it's constructive, something comes out of it. You feel it, right? You feel an elevation. If there's dissonance, then your sensing meter is how you feel about that person, many times in your gut or in your heart or wherever, and there's destructive interference, and there's no energy involved. So I think that's just a practice, but really, the ultimate mastery is to be able to be in such resonance, such coherence, that when you walk in the room, that you raise everybody's energy, and you don't let your energy drop because of any circumstance or any condition, and that would be greater than your environment, right? And that's the model that we use. So imagine 1,500 people in an event where everybody's getting super coherent, and the interference that's going on in the room is creating these high amplitudes. Now, we've measured that in the room, and the energy in the room is off the chart many times. There's energy for healing in there. There's energy for all kinds of things that can happen. So we brought it to life with our awareness. And so the more elevated the emotion, love, gratitude, freedom, bliss, ecstasy, the higher the frequency. So, but it turns out you can have a collective group of people with a lot of energy and be incoherent, and it creates entropy.
Yeah.
You could have a smaller group of people that are highly coherent and put out a very big signal. So when we see a collective really get coherent, wow, the energy in the room opens up doors of possibilities that I would never expect. I don't know how to explain some of the phenomenological things that happen. But that's everybody's divine. Like everybody's in that state. They're in that elevated state. So I think our truth meter is really whether we feel lifted or we feel like we've been robbed.
Yeah, and often our feeling of feeling lifted is based on everything we've just talked about. It's based on a void, based on an unhealed trauma, based on a gap or a part of ourselves that we haven't yet broken a belief. And so often feeling lifted is not feeling lifted in the way you're saying.
Right.
It's feeling lifted in the external superficial sense.
Right. Reaffirming the emotion you need.
Just as you said earlier at the beginning, that an external event could make you feel sad.
Right.
The external event is making you feel good.
Right.
But it's still external.
You're exactly.
Right? Like the opposite.
Right. So then that means then when things are good, you feel good.
Yeah.
When things are bad, you feel bad. So there's dramatic contrast and polarity. And this is the realm of polarity, right? So how do you find the middle path? Well, the heart is the middle path. It's a union of polarity. It's a union of opposites. It's oneness. It's wholeness. And this is where we have to begin to create from. All of this down here is all humanity. This is all our animal nature. We get up in here, things change, right? You go from selfish to selfless. Something else happens. So it's really funny too, because when a lot of people come, they say, I don't know, I'm having difficulty opening my heart. I'm practicing, but I'm not feeling anything yet. And And then it comes time to do our healings on other people, and the moment it was no longer about you, all of a sudden something happened. Well, of course, that's what the heart is about, right? So it comes in ways that we least expect at times.
According to Dr. Joe Dispenza, living in the memories of the past, living with the emotions of the past experiences, limit the possibility of moving into a brighter future. If all we do is keep thinking about what happened some time ago and keep filling ourselves with the emotions of the past, all we are doing is living in the past, while we should be living in the emotions of the future. Dr. Joe Dispenza has said that in order to go into a brighter future, to disconnect from all the things which act as a limiting agent, we must visualize and embody the emotion of the future, which is the way forward. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and do make sure to share your thoughts with us in the comment section.